Aloha, everyone. Nice to see you all. Very nice looking crowd. My name is Noelani Cashman Ayu, and I have the honor of moderating a panel. Uihā, the culture of the Paniolo. So let me introduce our panel. First of all, we have Ku'ule Keakealani. She is born and raised. Go ahead. Born and raised on the uplands of Puanahulu, North Kona. It is in Waimea that her father, Sonny Keakealani, took a position at Parker Ranch, where her and her siblings were blessed to ride the vast lands of Mauna Kea and Kohala. Growing up as a Parker Ranch Cowboys child has afforded her a lifetime of experiences and memories that shaped her to the Kanaka she is today. Joining her is her sister, Didi Keakealani Bertelman. Round of applause. We'll let you decide who's older. Fifth generation Paniolo, raised on Pu'uva'ava'a Ranch, living in Puanahulu. She continues to reside in Napu'u, where her family raised cattle on leased land as well as in Waimea. Keeping the Parker Ranch tradition alive, she is now a livestock administrator at Parker Ranch. Didi. Next we have Pono Von Holt. Pono Von Holt is a fourth generation Kama'aina rancher, born and raised on the family-owned Kahua Ranch. In 1980, he formed his own Ponoholo Ranch. He now works as a retired part-time Paniolo, and he has officially turned over the reins to the fifth generation. Ladies and gentlemen, our panel today. So Ku'ule is asked to just share a special poem with us.
Is it on?
Ku'ule?
Mahalo. I asked my sister to hold this because I gotta read my pepper. I do love to write, and my inspiration one day came from looking at my dad's hands. This is kind of an older poem that I wrote, but sitting alongside him and looking down at his hands, the crookedness, the scars, that was my inspiration. So I share this with you. It is entitled Storied Hands. I rise before most, even before the land feels the rays of the sun. The face of the moon still shows herself against the glittering stars. The flowers aren't awakened by the morning songs of birds yet, and the voices are still hushed in slumber. It is here and now that the work begins. I plot out my day only to realize that it has already been plotted for me, dictated by the day's events of yesterday. What was and remains to be done is told as the sun makes its way through the sky. I am in motion, constant motion am I. My mind is alert, my eyes are attentive, my hands are painstaking and skilled in every move they make. Oh yes, my hands. The lines upon them hold chapters to a book, my book of life. My hands are the keepers of many stories that stretch miles of plains, mountainsides of beauty, and even rough terrain. Stories are written upon my scars, and the crookedness of my fingers are the details of these stories, these chapters that unfold on my hands. Can you see my story? Look carefully. Allow your eyes to focus on the particulars of my hands. If you look closely, you'll hear my story. Feel no pity, my friend, for the seemingly unattractive and weather-worn hands that you see. It is worn with pride. It is a byproduct of the things I do and the places I go. The wind cools it, the rain moistens it, and the sun parches it. Work fills it. fills it really with what I call love. How lucky, you see, am I to be doing what I love. Realize this, the unattractiveness really is beauty. I open my book, my love story, perhaps really all it is hard work. A hard-working person is who I belong to. Look down to your own hands, open them, examine them. Do you see and hear the stories that they hold? Listen to hear the stories of hands that traverse and transcend race, gender, and age. If we but look to one's hands simply, we'd be able to see the extent of hard work and love that fills them. The hands of the Paniolo will continue to rise before most. Fret not. The look of my hands, they hold traditions and they endure much. Hands of the Paniolo will continue to fix fence lines, repair floaters in water troughs, tend to the herds, deliver mineral, separate cattle in dusty corrals. They will ride miles in the saddle, shake the hands of friends, comfort their loved ones, and day by day, month after month, the years become decades, and these hard-working hands will continue to expand the stories they hold and the traditions they endure. E mawana na Paniolo, long live the Paniolo.
Mahalo, Kule. I don't think there could be a better way to start our discussion. So let's turn it over to Pono with our first question. How would you define Paniolo, and what does the lifestyle, the tradition, and the culture look like?
I think the Paniolo is best described as a steward of the land and the livestock. The term Paniolo comes from the influence of the vaquero and the Spanish-Mexican cowboys that came down to teach the Hawaiian how to ride and rope. And that Espanol language translated to Paniolo is how they picked up their name and what we're called today. I think the family thing is so, as you heard the eloquent poem here, the Paniolo likes to let his hands do the talking. Is not verbally communicative. When you work with animals, you generally have to anticipate, and so they watch. And I think her poem was very well on the spot. Paniolo lets their hands do the talking.
Perfect. How about you, Didi? Your thoughts on defining Paniolo?
As you guys can see, I'm the more emotional one and not the one so comfortable on the stage. Sorry.
This is what you call passionate Paniolo.
Okay. Okay, please. Paniolo. To me, Paniolo is, it's really hard to explain in words for me what Paniolo is. It's my life. It's the lifestyle I choose to live. First and foremost, it's Aina. The pilina that we have on Aina, between Aina and elements, it's really hard to explain. Perhaps it's the feelings of our experiences that we've had. But Paniolo is our way of life, where we care for life, where we raise another life. It's a reciprocation of life. We malama the aina, that malamas the animals that we raise, that in turn feed our people. It may not be a ikavamamua culture, but it has evolved to be our culture. What we know and what we live and what we love.
Perfectly said. Kule, can you touch upon the history of the Paniolo here in Hawaii?
Sure I can. But can I take that first question too?
You can absolutely take that first question.
I just want to kind of add to what Uncle Pono and Didi said in looking at perhaps to caution to define things too strictly perhaps, or that it only means this or that, or this is what it looks like or sounds like. But something that I would love to add is that Paniolo become the repositories of place names. They, if you're able to come to our family branding in an instant, perhaps, once we begin to drive the ʻohana to the paeke, it's almost as if we step back into a time where there was no English, because most of the day operates, and we do the hana, as Dad would say in Vala'au Kanaka. So the passing forward of this knowledge and the maintenance of this knowledge of terms, Paniolo terms, but the ike aina as well. So to me, that is how we were raised, by our father, grandfather, uncles, to no particular pu'u. And right, ale pau ka ike ka halau ho'okahi. There are so many ways that we gain knowledge. So we can look at maps, lovely pala pala aina. And we can maybe ho'opa'ana'au, we can memorize, or we can study place names. Lovely cartographers make beautiful maps for us. We can look into archives, archival documentation. Prolific writers help us see what was in the past. But there is nothing like being in a particular place and the fog comes in. And what you rely upon, which is your vision, is taken away for a bit. The uhiwai comes in and it is so thick. And we're up in the mana section on the slopes of Mauna Kea. And you can hardly see the cowboys next to you. And of course, we're kind of little girls, but we can maybe smell the cigarette of Uncle Adam. So we know he's kind of close to us. You can hear squeaking, but you really can't see too far in front of you. And you rely on your horse, because your horse is going to get you home to the main headquarters or whatnot. But it's interesting that sometimes once the fog lifts and you look around and you're thinking, oh, there's Pu'u'io. Okay, I know where I'm at. You get your bearings by riding these places, and so you know that, okay, there's the succession of hills. Pu'u'io going to lead me right to Puka Ale Ale. Pu'ukikoni going to lead me right to Puka Ale Ale. And then if I huli iho down to look at Waimea, the other pu'u, which are reference points that we know intimately because we ride them. Hoku'ula, Oa Oaka, Pu'uki, that sweep of mountainsides in Waimea. So that's a privileged vantage point. So I think that to me is also within our lifestyle, is to know these places by being close to them day after day, summer after summer, year after year, and so we ma'a awa aina.
It's a relationship, right? A relationship that it's every pu'u, every wind, every rain, every papohaku, every paeke, sometimes even the kahawai, you know, we have a relationship with those things. You know, they all have inoa. They are someone to us.
Beautifully said, ladies. You've shared so much with us. Thank you. So let's move on to ranching, because we know that's a big topic these last couple of days. So, Pono, can you talk to us about how ranching has changed, especially now that we have corporate interests coming into the islands?
I think first of all, we got to realize, and as you see here, ranching is really a family business. And it started out from a corporate standpoint in the sense of trying to tame a resource and get it to market based on hides and tallow exporting to Asia. The vaquero was brought in, taught the Hawaiians how to ride and rope and herd and manage cattle. And the great ranches started evolving, but they were basically all family-based ranches. There were a few corporate interests from the plantations. Hawaiian Ranch at one time was a corporate ranch on Ka'u area of this island. Kukaiao Ranch at one point was part of the plantation. But generally, you take the biggest ranch we have, Parker Ranch. It's family-based operation from the start, and today it's community-owned and managed by 2 schools, a hospital, and a community foundation. So it's a family-based thing that continues. I think the changes we've seen, I think it's really important to recognize the ability of the Paniolo to change. We've seen them gone from early 1800s. Basically everything that you took to market was either shot or roped into some of the finest beef cattle on the islands, and the Herefords were brought in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And it was basically a grass market supplying a population base of 400,000 or 500,000 people. Today, we see we got a population base of 1.5 million, or I said 1.2 million and 10 million tourists a year. There's no way that we have the land resource to supply that. And so the changes that we've seen have gone from basically a local marketing operations to one that now takes probably 80% of its calf product and produces them on the mainland, whether they're continued in ownership or they're sold outright. And then the beef comes back in. And that's a macroeconomic strategic decision that had to be made in order for the financial success of the ranches to continue today. We look at trying to finish cattle on grass here, and we can do it to a certain extent, but the efficiency of producing a lot of product is not as efficient. It is utilizing byproducts on the mainland and facilities up there that are really efficient based on volume. So any corporate interests, I would say, probably occur when we go into the finishing phases on the mainland, dealing and working with people there. And beef comes back to Hawaii, but we couldn't tell you which steak in Costco is the Hawaii steak or not. I think it's good to remember, though, but if you take this island of Hawaii as a county, and our capability and our grass is a resource that's our big comparative advantage on an economic terms. So we continue to produce a product here at a lower cost when it's on the ranch. The moment it comes off the ranch, we have a real issue in economies of scale trying to get it into a plastic wrap cellophane thing at the shelf in the marketplaces. So we take those products to the mainland, bring them back, and we're really efficient at it. If we can generate more revenue for a product back here, we will do it. But generally, it's a financial deal, and it allows this county. So if you take all the counties in the United States, in our nation, and Hawaii is probably one of the largest counties in numbers of cows on the ground. There are a lot of counties on the mainland. There are a lot of places that have large feed yards and have a lot of cattle. But if you look at a cow operation, Hawaii County is right at the top there as far as numbers and efficiency goes.
Perfect. Thank you, Pono. How about on Parker Ranch? Can you talk a little bit about that as the lifestyle administrator? Dee Dee?
Not necessarily. Can I touch on something else, perhaps? Okay,
You can do anything you want, right, audience? I think they've earned that right,
Sorry.
right?
So from the export of hide and tallow, right? The beef production changes in Hawaii. And in the 1980s, 80% of the beef was kept here on island. We had feed yards. That was it. That is where you are able to finish your animals, in the feed yard. All of that went away in the later 80s. And a lot of the ranchers, both big and small, really didn't have many options, and local brokers. So we had to send our beef to the continent. And yes, it does come back sometimes in boxes. Well, they say it's Hawaii, and perhaps it is, maybe not. Today, our challenge is the processing plant's capacity. If we were able to process everything that is raised in the state of Hawaii, we would still have to import about 80% of our beef.
So if they were looking for local beef, where could they get it here on the island?
Yep, you could purchase beef at local beef at Safeway, KTA. I believe Target has some of the beef as
You
well.
see, now you have a gift.
So
All
we
of you,
do-
when you go back home, get your beef at Target,
yeah.
Safeway, KTA. How about Waimea Butcher Shop?
Waimea Butcher Shop, yes, a lot of local processing.
Okay.
He's doing
Yeah.
there.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. So now we've talked a lot of beef, but we want to talk a little bit about how do we honor the tradition of the Paniolo. So Kule, can you start us off just talking about how can we honor the history of the Paniolo?
That's a great question. I think one of the ways to honor our Paniolo is to look at them within the cultural context of transmission of knowledge, and that they truly are repositories and they maintain this ike. So when our kupuna are taught to ride, and Kamehameha receives the gifts of sheep and pipi, our kanaka are going to apply their knowledge of holova'a right onto the Hawaiian tree saddle. So it's pretty much one for one. We can name a part of a saddle and point to a part on the va'a, same name. And we can just go back and forth, back and forth. The parts, mahele o ka va'a, same with the mahele o ka noholio. So that truly, nui ka ikena a ka Hawaiʻi, that they can just, boom, move their existing knowledge into what becomes a new part. So looking at resilience, adaptability, and that sensibility. My dad loves to say that he get 1 degree in CS. And we're like, Dad, what is that? He said, I get my degree in common sense.
But his degree is in welding.
Yeah, but he get actually one welding degree. He went go tech school hilo, and he was a welder. But he said he went follow his heart to be a Paniolo, but common sense. But it's kind of those sorts of things, those sensibilities. Live close to your aina, live within your means, even if. So my dad is also a Kanakalawai'a and raises us from the oceans of Waikapunaka'u and Anaiho'omalu, Kiholo. So I will continue to say, we had a privileged life where we got to eat from our ocean, eat from our plains and our forest. But, I forget where I was going with this.
That's okay. You get masters in common sense.
I forget. Yeah, with a common sense. Oh my gosh. There was something that I was kind of onto there, but poina kaya. Maybe it'll come back so if he come
Okay.
back, I'll let you know, Auntie.
Okay. Just raise your hand. I got you. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, I spent some time with them, and it was very emotional because for someone who didn't grow up with that lifestyle, You know, we think it's just about riding cowboys. I'm riding. Sorry. You know what they say, save a horse, ride a cowboy. Sorry, that was my other party I was supposed to go after this one. Take it easy, everybody, take it easy. All right, so let's move right on along. Okay, so one of the things we talked about, and you know, we all have pets, we love our animals, but when I was speaking with all three of them, it just took on a whole different meaning. So maybe each of you can share the topic of we love our animals, but how does it differ on the ranch?
Can you ask your question again? I'm still laughing.
He's still stuck on the cowboy one that I mentioned. By the way, I'm single, so that's why it came out like that. So sorry. Okay, Pano, wait, hold on. Where was I? Okay. Love of the animals. It takes on a whole different meaning when we're in the Paniolo lifestyle. Talk to me a little bit about that.
I think you look at the horse, Leo, and I think that's the first attraction of any kid that's from about 2 years up, is to get on the back of one of those things. And that in itself brings along the start of the family tradition, riding out for the first time with their parents. The tradition then continues on with sports, fun, rodeo, roping events. You learn how to ride, work, train a horse to do what you want to do in an arena, and then it helps you on the outside. And then the next thing is raising your cattle or your animals in the most humane way you can do it. And livestock handling has changed a lot to where it's not so much the rah-rah roundup of a lot of cattle in wide spaces. They're more, narrower, smaller spaces. Cattle are handled quietly because when they go through the process, if they have a trusting relationship with you, then it's easier to handle them. And then, of course, the final stage with the cattle is a wonderful product to eat.
Perfect. How about Ku'ulei Didi? Maybe you guys talk to us a little about the love for the animals.
Okay. Oh, you didn't remember. Okay, go ahead.
I did actually remember what I was going to say.
Yeehaw!
And before I forget, for real, is Uihā.
All right.
And that's why I haven't mentioned that Dad is also a Hawaiian. Throw net, right? We watch him throw net. He teach me how to throw net. But that sensibility and that common sense, again, this is the word, right? Sustainability. Eat within your means. So even if we were able to cover a school of manini, would we take the whole thing, the whole catch? Oleloa. So that is, again, these kinds of teachings where you're going to give back, you're going to look, have a variety in your catch. You're not going to wipe out the whole school, even if you can cover. One of Dad's favorite fish is wo-wo. Right, got to look when the water kind of ale-ale, and to sit on that shoreline for what seems like long time. And it probably is a long time. Such is the ways of the Lawai'a. You just know homali kilo, and when the time is right, you go and cast your net. But it's kind of those things, those teachings to say, even if we go and catch, and if we do catch a ka'au, it's a lot of fish, would we necessarily take home the entire ka'au? Perhaps, but we're going to, what Dad going to say, ho'omahele, right? You're going to go take to Grandma eat it, going to take to Grandma marry, you're going to take to the different households in Pu'uanahulu, and we're going to also have some for our, so the share of the catch, but also that thing of even if, not take what you can, just take what you need. Mahalo I ka mea lo'a. These kinds of deep-seated values are the ways that we now raise our daughters, and that You know, it was really important for me. I have a 14-year-old. She is the muliloa of the 3 daughters that I have, and her dad, my husband, Kanaina Case, she's really following in his footsteps in being a hunter, or kind of, okay, that whole thing. But I said, sweetheart, there is so much more to being just a hunter. You're going to go holo holo for food. So she walks those slopes of Mauna Kea with her dad. They're able to harvest hipa. It doesn't end there. At this point, she just made 14 a couple weeks ago. She feed us. She can harvest hipa off of Mauna Kea, come home, she got a pahi'ili. We step back at this point and we tell her, ka'io, pahi'ili, skin this hipa. Her dad watches attentively on the side and he'll tell her, break down your hipa. She completely got to debone her animal. Then put it in the freezer, or later on, her dad he's been teaching her some of his recipes. She's going to soak the meat. They're going to eat a kaula'i in the dry box, or she loves hipa curry stew. So they can eat hipa curry stew every week in our household. We have that every week. But that's the thing, right, is that she not just go holo holo, but she is now she has the ability and the skill to take it from the live animal to feeding us at night. That is this lifestyle. That is that a'o, the teachings to say, hey, Ka'i, say you one hunter girl, but there's so much more to that, sweetie, that you have to know. So, Pelano, I think that was the mana'o that was about the Kanakalawai'a. And
I think that's the true definition of sustainability. Didi, you want to touch upon that a little bit?
On what? That or the horse?
The cowboy. Keep it in line. Paniolo.
Okay, we're going. Horses. Okay.
And the thing, we never even drink first before we came up here.
I should have. Okay. If those who know me know that besides my grandpa, the horse is my first love. So I guess the day I came home from the hospital, the first thing my grandpa did was took me riding. Till today, I cannot live without my horses or my cattle and my dogs. They are not only the tools that we use to do our hana, but they are our family members. They are very well cared for. I think a couple of sessions ago in legislature, there was a bill that almost got passed to allow the horse to be considered a pet. If that were to happen, I would not have the resources, my horse, that I need to work my aina, especially in Pu'anahulu. You know, that's all pohaku country. You know, I need my horses. You cannot access the places that we go on ATV. So that really scared me, you know, if that were to ever pass. A lot of people's views and their perceptions on how they view our lifestyle and how we use our animals. A cowboy's love for his horse and the pee-pee that he nurtures and cares for, besides the aina, are the most important things in our lifestyle.
Ew. Thank you, Didi. So we have about 3 minutes left, so I'm just going to pose the last question because I think this is important to end. How can the next generation carry on this kuleana? Just give you a minute each to just give your thoughts. Pono?
Well, I think it all starts in as they're raised in the family, and they become part of the operation, even if it's on a weekend or it's after work or it's on holidays as kids. that gets them into something. And the fact that a lot of us are community-based, with our Paniolo being members in the community, and their families have been around a long time. They're large. A lot of them don't work on ranches, but they have the ranching tradition in them. So when we look for the next generation, they're basically being bred already. I mean, it's a breeding your own deal, so to speak, by the community, helping each other out, doing brandings and that type of thing. And the kids get to participate, and they come along. And then there's always somebody, you know, in that group that has a knack for really liking to do what we do, and they want to continue on. So I think the participation, family-based business is really an important deal.
Excellent point. Thanks, Pono. How about you, Ku'ule?
For me, I'm thinking definitely that it's succession. You kind of take your place as we do to our children, probably what was done to us. You on your horse constantly, but also that, you know, I'm going to look at some of the present-day Parker Ranch Cowboys right now. A lot of them are our nephews. When they were little boys, they would say, we're going to be Parker Ranch Cowboy when we grow up. So my thing is, as long as there are cowboys for these little ones to look up to desire to become, that's their dream. We hear from them all the time, I live in my dream, because when I was a small boy, I dreamt to be a cowboy. So that's going to hold generation after generation that is now they're in those positions. And they are now the ones that the children look up to and say, I like being a cowboy when I grow up. So it's certainly a beautiful thing to dream to be a cowboy.
I was dreaming that little while ago, remember? Didi, sorry, diverted. Talk to us a little bit about your last words for the next generation. How do they keep up with the kuleana?
Grow our next generation. And that means we Kanaka, we people of the Aina. That's part of our DNA, right? Grow 'em. No matter what, we people of Aina and can.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to our panel. Pono Van Holt, Ku'ule Keakealani, and Didi Keakealani Bertelman. Mahalo, everyone.